So tips on buying a used RC car. Number one tip I always tell people that are new to RC, never buy a used RC car because you don't know what the person did to it before. You don't know if they maintained it, you don't know if they had bashed it, you don't know how they drove it, you don't know how many things may be broken on it or may need to be replaced. So it's always good for someone that's new into RC to buy a new car. So now that we're past that, I do want to get into a few of the tips that I use when I buy a used RC car. I make a list of upgrades that I will eventually have on a car that I'm going to have. So I go and look for a used car that has those upgrades on it. For instance, if I knew that I wanted a carbon fiber shock tower, or if I knew I wanted, threaded shocks, I would look for a car that has that on there. The third thing I always look for when buying a used RC car is that the value of the RC car will drop. So when you buy a car and it's used, it's going to drop. Now, just because a car has a lot of upgrades on it or shiny aluminum parts doesn't mean that it will be worth more than the kit was when it was new. 4, definitely look for extra things like if it has a nice radio, if it has nice chargers, if it comes with nice servos. Electronics are definitely worth more. They don't deteriorate in value as much as the kit itself does because they don't wear out as fast. A radio is something that you will use for years. It's not something that will wear out in 6 months and then you will have to replace. 5 is don't get caught up in the shiny parts unless you have to have them. Unless it's something so rare you know that you'll never be able to find it again. That's the only reason I would look at shiny parts or aftermarket things if it's something you cannot find. Number 6 is you want to look at the car. Look at the car, see if it's maintained, if it's clean. You want to look at all the crevices. You want to look at the hinge pin areas. You want to look in between parts and pieces of the car to make sure it's clean. If it's clean, it's usually well maintained, and the person that had it knew what they were doing, and it's going to be a better buy for you. Now, you can't always base it off of that. You still have to look at the parts, make sure they're not wore out, but definitely cleaner cars make a difference. 7, if you're looking at nitro cars, nitro engines that are used may not be well maintained. No matter what the person says, you can't go back and see what they did. You can't see how they tuned it. You can't see how they broke it in. So unless you knew the person personally and had actually seen what they did with the motor, I would steer away from used nitro motors because you most likely will have to replace them. And then last, do not buy a car because of the nice shell or body or Lexan paint job that it has. This is just a piece of thin plastic. You want to look past this. You want to look at the car itself because you can always paint one of these. It's cost $5, $10 to paint a body. Don't look at the body. Look past that. Look at the car itself. Look at the parts again. You want to make sure things are not wore out. You want to look at how clean it is, how maintained it is. And that's a few of the tips that I use when I look at a used RC car and I want to buy it.